Cool. That's all good.
All right, about 15 seconds.
Sure.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call, the podcast where Croncy and I talk about Star Citizen things. And there's some things to talk about this week. My intro was a little bit faster than yours today from last week. So that's something that we could talk
It's
about.
not
I'm just slightly faster than you, right? Like my intro was just a little bit faster, but you'll get there. Next week, I really feel like you'll be on the top of the intro leaderboards from me. So that's something we're going to talk about. But the main thing that we're going to talk about is server meshing today. And we already have a pretty full caller list. This is the first time we can ever talk about a patch that was an Evo. We're going to
yes.
discuss. I experienced it. You did not. You're not an Evo, right?
No, I'm not in Evo, but
Okay.
I've gathered some information
Yes.
from friends.
Exactly, and we're able to talk about those things and share
Yeah.
those things with you, as well as have people discuss something that was in testing with Star Citizen. How novel of an experience. Somebody asked me before we started, is it weird for you to be able to talk about Evo stuff? And I said, no, it was weird to not be able to talk about it because it was
Yeah.
just a patch that was a Star Citizen patch. So everything feels normal now instead of super weird. But yeah, I don't know what you want to dive into first, but
Well, how about we make sense of the intro because so many people are going to be so confused as to what the hell you were going on about.
of course, because obviously I would imagine not as many people would be watching our streams for
Yeah.
these things, right? That might see the YouTube video. So, when did it start this week? It was like Tuesday or something.
So first off, Gravlevs are here. The Gravlev racers from PTU are here. They arrived halfway through the podcast last week.
Oh, okay, it was Sunday.
Um, yeah, so they were available literally like in the middle of it. And
And
then
we're doing good.
we're doing great.
Yeah.
This is insane. It was kind of this really cool experience though of me and Mike challenging each other through like just memes and stuff over and
Yeah.
over again, and then us crushing times and beating some of the best races in the game. However, if you also look at our like playtime, uh, we're pretty high up there.
It's a little bit higher than everybody else right now. Yeah. So they're
Yeah,
they're like, for example, I was number 3 for overall race time until like like what, 10 hours, 12 hours ago, and then all the
yeah,
racers that have been racing like other things just came in and were like, yeah, no, you can't do this. Um I believe this, what's on screen, is my fastest overall race time. I
mhm,
mean, and just generally, this is what I've 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 needed out of Star Citizen, is
mhm,
something very, very simple, but it's a simple, like the leaderboard thing, which I know there's been leaderboards in other things, but I think those game
yeah,
modes felt so jank that it never felt good to be playing them, like Arena Commander or whatever. Or we know
yeah,
that those things are going to change, right? But for me personally, seeing my score on the leaderboard improve over time is really awesome. And then
yeah,
our little competition on top of that made it like, more fun as well. Is like every day I woke up and you beat my best time that I didn't think I can beat. And then I
yeah.
found a few more spaces. Now, your camera on your end actually froze. This isn't on my end.
Okay, yeah, I'll fix that.
No problem. You seem
Classic.
very disappointed in my lap time, Croncy.
I am. I'm very disappointed.
But
um,
yeah, like
yeah,
I want to hear your perspective on it. I've just, it's progress is something I've always talked about in the game, and
mhm,
th- that's all I've had all week is
yep.
progress with this, and it's been really awesome. So
Yeah, it's something that I've gotten to experience a lot over the last couple of years, being meeting a lot of the ground racing community because that's sort of the biggest area that I've been in, less so the flying racing community.
Hmm.
And just actually having goals to beat has made Star Citizen just so much better,
Yeah,
which really is more of a thing of like KCRG. We need things to progress towards. Um,
big
but this was
time.
just so insane. I've never had this much competition in the game, and had so much fun with it. It's been awesome. So I think a lot of that has to do with the low barrier to entry that Gravlev brings. At the same time,
Yes.
it is not super new player friendly with the way the Gravlev works right now. Uh, we were talking just before about all the people on the leaderboard. There's like 1,100 people on the leaderboard. About half of them haven't finished a race because they've rage quitted halfway through, as they've ended up launched off into the sky. Um, so it's obviously rough there, but the fights between you and me, and then seeing the other players like Herbie and Moldan like
But
crush it, and then like
but we're
it's
competing,
been really
but
cool.
we're helping each other compete.
Yeah, of course.
Like
Yeah, the racing
everybody is
community has
giving
always been like that.
advice. Yeah, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it's always super friendly. So first off, the Gravlev races are a knockout of the park for me.
Yeah.
With maybe a couple of changes in future just to how Gravlevs themselves work. This track, Clio, which is what we spent most of this week on,
Yeah.
is phenomenal. Really, really well done. Feels great.
Why?
So,
And I think I talked a lot before the podcast started about like feedback and how to give feedback. Why do
mhm.
you think why do you think this track is so much more popular than the other tracks? I mean, I know why for me, but I'm curious if we share the same opinion here on
So
this.
there'd be a couple of reasons. I would say that Shifting Sands is probably the most popular one in terms of the one that people like. But the reason
Hmm.
this one is getting more people on it is because it's leaderboard active. There's only 2 tracks that are leaderboard active, which is this and Snake Pit Reverse. The reason that it's much more popular than Snake Pit Reverse and regular Snake Pit, and what's the other one? And the
The
River
River's
one.
Edge.
River's Edge is bad just because it's got tons of bugs.
Yeah.
Uh, the Snake Pit ones, which I think are okay, uh, you will be super punished for anything. So if you make one misstep, you're losing 15 seconds for sure. And so it's a lot harder for people to get into. Whereas in this one, yeah, you just go ride height minimum as soon as you start, and you just go.
Yep.
Yep.
For me, the reason it's so good is what was so special about Gravlev vehicles when they first introduced them is you thought Star Wars, right? And in Star
Mhm.
Wars, the vehicles that are essentially Gravlev vehicles they float at the same height, they're very agile, and it's cool, right? That's exactly this experience that you get on Clio Islands, and you don't get that
Mhm.
experience anywhere else because you hit rocks and stuff. So
Yeah.
for me, I think the one bit of feedback that hopefully they gather from this, and I don't know if this is the right thing or the wrong thing for the game overall, but I could tell you it's you know infinite levels of fun above the other tracks. Is I never hit the ground. So I'm
Yeah.
racing, I feel speed, it's fun. And if I had that on a Shifting Sands, which if you guys aren't aware, Shifting Sands is a track that is combat on, and there's also
Not
like,
for live. Not for live. That was only in PTU.
wait, what?
Yeah, you can't shoot in live. Actually, no, I'm fairly sure you still can't, but I
You
might be
can.
wrong just because I forgot that I kept on removing my guns.
Yes, you can shoot
I would
on
have to
live.
double check. I haven't in live driven it with guns.
You can 100% shoot on live. Yeah, Croncy's wrong
All
is
right.
what DJ
Duncan
said,
said
but
I'm wrong, which means
yeah,
Duncan's wrong. Wow, cringe.
nice. But yeah, I think that will eventually be the most popular one. It's the Star Wars speeder experience, like the pew pew shooting guns
Yeah, yeah.
and all that stuff. And I think that will eventually be the most popular if you have the same experience with ride height or not hitting the ground that you have
Mhm.
on on that experience. I think that'll be super fun. But because the track's actually cool, it's just I hit a rock and it's just like, dude, this is stupid, right? Is how I
Yeah.
felt about it. But I don't know how much more you want to go into it. It has been super fun. I'm pretty sure I want to put like a guide. Like I'm having so much fun that I want to put a guide out on how to get below
Yep.
40 seconds for the average person, because
Yep.
I think it's incredibly easy to get that, and it's just a matter of understanding a few things. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
super
I think
fun.
I think the biggest takeaway that I've gotten from it is that we it was really hard to gauge how the Gravlev rework that happened what, almost 18 months ago now, I think, how that actually went. Because if you're
Mhm.
going into the PU, you're going to explode to everything always anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
And so now that we've gotten to be able to actually use it, where first off we can reset really quickly, it's it feels a lot better. Like it feels like it is okay. It still needs to not explode all the time, but the actual like I felt great driving it once I started to learn the little quirks of the vehicles.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I haven't enjoyed anything like this in a while. And it's just the simple like making progress. The
yep,
last time I had this much fun playing Star Citizen, and it's very sad that it's happening in Arena Commander. It was the Vandal Mask event. It was the
yep,
like I went from not knowing how to do anything to being able to do something, and I
hmm
wanted to do that, right? And I just haven't had that
yep,
experience as much in Star Citizen lately. So it's
yep,
been nice to have this distraction while waiting for 323, because that's really what we're sitting here. We're just we're starting to get the questions in Twitch chat. Oh, is there going to be an Evo for 323 yet? Things like that.
you know,
And yeah, I mean, that should probably be happening within the next few weeks if they're going to be on time for April. So the expectation would be to start hearing about those conversations pretty soon. And
yep.
yeah, that's what we're doing. We're just waiting for those things. And we had this awesome little distraction, and it was fun.
Yeah. And we get to, unfortunately, we only get to have it for essentially another week before
Mm,
it goes away for 2 weeks, which is one sort of thing that I really, really don't like about the experimental modes is we keep getting some of them. Like Gun Rush ended up becoming, like essentially a permanent thing, but we keep on getting these experimental modes that are a ton of fun. And then I can't play it for weeks, right? Like, I
yeah.
don't think I could get to my personal best time within a week. I think it would take me a lot longer than that, and I'm just not going to get to grind it. So it's a bit unfortunate for that. A
Yeah.
couple of things though, Duncan has said that leaderboards for the other tracks are coming,
Okay.
presumably 323. So sweet because I'm super keen to jam nothing but shifting sands over and over and over and over and over again.
And I have no
Um,
desire to do
yeah.
anything other than Cleo Islands. That's it. I only
But
want to race the track that I'm not hitting the ground.
you can do shifting sands really really easily, completely all the way to the bottom without hitting anything.
Okay.
Really easily, yeah. But believe me,
Okay. I
because
did.
I did it on like my third run after someone said you could do it. So
Okay.
really, the problem comes with the snake pit ones where it's not rocks, it's hills that are in front of you during the track.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
just launch you into the air, which is just not the expected experience. So if
exactly.
you guys are listening to this and not enjoying Gravlev, I understand. So
Yeah, we get it.
if
Yeah,
we're sounding crazy because we don't enjoy because we enjoy it and you don't, it's for me it's literally because all I do is play Cleo Islands and there's no hills.
yeah.
That's why. Um, but yeah, you want to move on to another topic? You want to touch on Idris ISC, or do you want to just
Yes.
go right into to
Yeah.
the testing stuff? It's up to you.
Yeah, let's talk about the Idris because this was
Yep.
my first look. Because I don't work for CIG, so I didn't get on the Idris last
Good.
week.
You know what?
So
Good point. Yeah.
this was my first time looking at the Idris, and it looks super dope. Looks super super cool. I'm very excited to get on it. It did feel a bit like a filler episode of ISC this
Oh,
week, right?
it was an art episode. Like that's kind of what I
Yeah,
define
yeah,
it as. It's an art episode.
yeah.
And you had the two guys, like the main art director for Squadron. I don't think he's that anymore,
Mhm,
but he was. And then they
yeah,
just talked about what it looks like.
yeah. Yeah, they literally it, right? The only thing that they didn't really show was the missile room, which also I believe wasn't available during the Idris fight, right? When like when they were spawning the other week. So we
Say it
didn't get to
again?
see that, and the missile room.
Oh yeah, yeah. The missile room's not
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm not 100% sure what's going on with that. I don't like they didn't really say why it was taking more time. They just said it was.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, it looks phenomenal. It looks super super cool. And it just made me hate the previous week's event more and more, not being able to
Honestly,
actually get on it.
yeah, and to not just like be able to take the time and
Yeah, I just want to
and
walk
just
around and like
yeah.
see all of the like mini details that always come out in these ships, right? But
Is
just didn't have a
Invictus
chance to do that.
Invictus is first, right? So Invictus is fairly
Yeah,
soon,
Invictus is soon. It's likely, like it's entirely speculation from everyone,
but
but
it's
I think it's a
how
reasonable yeah, I think
yeah,
it's a reasonable speculation
logical, yeah.
that we'll probably see a docked Idris that we can tour, just like we have had in the past. I think it's the past 3 years, maybe the past 2 years with the Javelin.
Yep.
So yeah, we should hopefully be able to get in it now, and this should be great. But yeah, I just love it. I love the hangar. The hangar looks way cooler than I expected it to. So
The
yeah.
hangar and the cargo area,
Hmm.
and well, you know what, the whole ship, it gets the future Star Citizen org gameplay juices flowing, and I get so
Yep.
excited for like we could live on this ship, and this is where you spawn, this is where
Hmm.
you land, this is where you log out in the evening, but then you get reminded that none of those things exist in the current game, and it's like, wow, they have
Yeah.
such a way to go. And it's I just looked at this as they gave you the opportunity to see the Squadron 42 set for a little
Yep.
while and check it out. But it also definitely is inspiring for like what the game maybe could feel it one day. But I
Hmm.
don't think that day is anytime soon. So it's like both
No.
exciting and frustrating at the same time, you know?
Yep.
But they
It's
addressed in the
good to
video
just
as well that
yeah.
this is not really a squadron. It is, but it's not a Squadron 42 spoiler. There's tens of thousands of entities, they said, that are not, that they removed from the ship, and it's quite weird for them to look at because it's so empty.
Yeah, because
So
it's all the set dressing, all of the like. You've got to imagine in Squadron there'll be like NPC keepsakes that they've got on their beds and stuff, right? Like
Luke Skywalker
all of
will
that
be
stuff
there.
doesn't there. He will.
Yeah, with a
Not
lightsaber.
even not even the actor, just
Spoilers.
actual Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, spoilers. He's gonna have a lightsaber there, guys. Okay,
Yeah.
it's gonna be sick.
Yeah,
But
so I think they did a fantastic job, at least from what they showed on ISC.
yeah,
I love the view from the cockpit. Feels awesome. Feels open. Feels great. And oh, the walkway above the hangar, having the windows on the side, was
it's
such
awesome.
a nice looking touch. Yeah,
It's awesome.
so that's awesome to say. Yeah, very
Yeah.
keen.
And they're like, "Oh yeah, this fits 3 ships." No, it doesn't. It fits like a million ships, right? And
Yeah,
like we will fit them in that way. I
yeah,
don't know if we'll ever be able to like spawn ships on these things. I doubt it, right? But
yeah. I imagine not. Yeah,
yeah, so like fits 3 ships like it spawned with them. But
it has an official capacity of 3 Gladiuses. It has an
exactly.
unofficial capacity of 8 million
Yeah.
Furies. Right. So
Yeah. Like it's a hive ship when it comes to that.
yeah,
But this really just made me want the Kraken or Kraken
yeah,
or however you say it. It's I want the experience of living on a ship and not really feeling the need to go to a station. And
yep,
the event plus this video, all that's done is just make me want to have that experience. And I know that that experience is very far away, but I still that
yep.
doesn't mean I don't want it, right?
Yeah.
I
It did make
really
me think
really
though
want
that
it.
there's certain locations on this ship, and I imagine will be on some other ships that are very like RP focused, right? That I think is okay. Like the mess hall is almost entirely RP. The only reason it
Yeah.
wouldn't be RP is if you've got like a special food storage there, and that would be it. You're still not going to actually sit down and have a meal,
But bro,
you know?
is it RP to go to the briefing room and be like, "This is what we're doing today," and everybody sit there and we
Yes.
share? Like it is, but it's also not at the same time. You know what I mean? Like you
I think
actually
I
like
think that
in
is
dis.
fully RP, but it's very cool. I don't think it's not RP.
Okay,
Like
like for me, RP is like it can be cringe, and that would be like a non-cringe RP.
no, that'd be pretty cringe. I'm not gonna lie.
Fair. I would do it. I would do it and not feel
I'm not
cringe.
saying I wouldn't do it either, but I
Yeah.
recognize when things I do are cringe. I play
Uh,
D&D. It's like peak cringe.
yeah. Yeah. Chat's calling me cringe. So yeah, I guess I'm
But
cringe.
still, I think they can make those areas have actual purpose. And I'm just I'm just wondering now what they would be, and because it feels like maybe not on the Idris, but on other ships it could be a waste. On the Idris, it's not a waste because it's a squadron asset, and so it does have purpose in squadron,
Mm.
right? But yeah, if they're able to make those spaces somewhat gameplay relevant, then cool, sweet, and I'm hoping they do.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's all I really had. Again, it was a very art
Mhm.
episode. We did not get a Star Citizen live because they wanted to watch like Dune 2 or something. And
Yep.
I even was like annoyed by that for a second. And then it's like, dude, they're human beings. They could take a day off. It's okay. It's a thing they're allowed to do. Like, what the hell is wrong with you, Mike? They don't have to be here every week. And you know what? The video content's been really good.
Yep.
On average this year, it's been on time ISC every week. Like, I really don't have a lot of things to complain about. And go ahead, take your day off. I'm being
Yeah.
completely unreasonable to be like, no SCL. What the hell? Like, that's initially how I felt, and then I like corrected
It's
my terrible attitude.
it's Dune, therefore it's actually market research that they're doing. You know, it's all sci-fi relevant.
Yeah, I heard they got a lot of shit for like taking that meme of the sandworm and the pico or whatever. Like, people got mad about that.
Why?
I I think just because the sandworm never happened.
I mean, the game never happened. What are you talking?
I
You know what
know.
I mean?
I'll
Like, it's
try and
such a
find this
silly
picture
thing
for
for
you
people to
guys.
get mad
It
about. It's
re-
just a
it really is.
funny little thing. Like, oh man.
It is really
Anyway,
stupid to get mad, but I'll try to find the picture real quick.
yep.
Um,
For
there's
reference,
Here it is.
it was
Here
at
it
the
is.
end of the ISC. Yeah.
Found
Um.
it
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just nice and funny. It's just like, yeah, Dune 2 is coming out. I'm a big fan of any Pico related memes.
Yeah.
It's top notch. It did make me think. There was one thing about the photo that made me go, interesting. Which is, do you think we're ever going to see planets orbit close enough, like moons orbit close enough to another planet that it looks like in the top right there?
Oh,
Because I want that so bad. I think that looks sick. We might get that in Pyro 5. I don't know, but
yeah.
yeah.
I didn't get to see it, so we can. That's a good maybe segue into the
Yeah.
the test or whatever. But I just to answer your question, that's a lot of stuff on the screen that I don't think anybody's computer can
Oh, for
handle,
sure.
maybe. But
Yeah.
um, we're gonna talk about Evo Cati right now, and
First time ever.
it's legal.
It is
It's
legal.
entirely legal. So there was I would put quotations around very, very thick quotations, server meshing test.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this is the most boring Evo test to discuss that we could have possibly got, because it was more of like a back end on their data, and
Yeah.
like them gathering data from us, just doing normal things instead of us showing you 323 and new content.
Mhm.
323 Evo is going to be entirely more exciting to discuss and information to share with you guys than this
Yep.
would be. But from a Star Citizen future perspective, I mean, is this not exciting?
Well, yeah, it's been the most hype news. Like, Mike, remember in the first week of January we had nothing to talk about, and just every week we keep getting something exciting about like the game that keeps happening. It's
Yeah.
freaking me out. It's super hype. Everyone's really excited for it, and they should be, just because it's so. We've been told that it's this massive wall before we get to enjoy a lot of the game, and they tested it, and from all accounts I've been hearing, it worked and it was okay. At least, like, the tech itself was. There was other issues, but like,
Well, we don't know if
yeah,
it worked, right? Because the idea of a server meshed environment would be, and to be honest, the okay, so the initial test was to have a 100 maximum players
mhm,
on. This is my understanding, but the actual result ended up being very different. Is having 100 players in a Pyro server and 100 players in a Stanton server, and those
yep,
servers would be technically meshed together. And then there's the replication layer, which communicates like where things are and database stuff, that talks to both servers.
mhm,
And but we wouldn't be able to communicate to each other. We're not able to jump through the gates. We were specifically told to not go near the gates or jump through them because it would cause big issues for everybody and it would be considered like against the rules of Evo, therefore like get kicked out, something like that. So no, 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 do not do that. And I think a few people went near it or whatever, but nobody went through them as far as I'm aware, right?
Yeah, apparently it worked and everything about it was working, but no one essentially crossed the line that would be go from server A to server B.
Yeah, so you would
So
just
yeah,
it worked is very much you have to believe whatever they say and
yeah,
okay, I mean there's no reason really not to, but at the same time it's like until I'm jumping through the gate am I actually server meshed or whatever, right?
yeah,
Until
because that's the big
there's
test.
exactly until there's 100 players at Hurston and 100 players at Crusader and that jump we mesh between
Hmm.
a server. Are we really server meshed? In my opinion, the answer would be no. But
Yeah.
what the takeaway from this was in general is that it wasn't very crashy. There
Mhm.
weren't any like overwhelmingly insane issues, and the replication layer recovered very quickly in comparison to previous tests. First test
Yeah.
was about 5 minutes. Second test never recovered. Was
Yeah,
like
it
really
was all over the
problematic.
place. Yep.
And this third test was apparently between 2 and 2.5 minutes, where my
Mhm.
argument for an alpha, about 2 minutes, is a totally reasonable amount of time to wait for your server to recover, as long as you're not in a
Yep.
firefight, because then, who
Yeah.
recovers when is typically going to be a problem. And that's an edge case that sucks, but it's a
Yeah.
better situation overall. So I don't know. I'll leave it to you for the
Yeah.
next part of the discussion, I guess. But that's
Yeah, just on that, I will just say the like 2 minutes is enough that I wouldn't restart the game and relog in. You know what I mean? So like
exactly.
it's like in terms of where the game is at now, it's like more acceptable. As long as the frequency of those happening is not insane as well. Like if I'm getting a 2 minute hiccup every
Every
30
5
minutes, that's
minutes.
super
Yeah,
frustrating. Yeah, exactly. Right.
exactly.
So
Um,
but
the
the frequency was also not super big. So yeah.
Yeah, and the person in chat that's saying like, of course the end goal is for it never need to recover at all. Yes, and that's the end goal, but we also know that the end goal is very far away, right? And I think
Yeah.
having the realistic expectation of, I hate making the comment of Star Citizen is an alpha, but one of the one situations where you can absolutely make that argument is, stability and things when you're adding new
Mhm.
features to a game. Naturally, uh, there will be some instability and you'll have to deal with these issues occasionally. And this is a very good um, solution to the problem that we've been experiencing of having to
Yeah.
completely reset, lose all progress, lose your missions, lose everything you're doing. It's terrible. So
Mhm.
we're going from terrible to not so bad, and I'll definitely take it.
Oh, for sure. It's
Yeah.
important. Anytime there is an improvement to the game right now, I'm always excited because I mean, me and Mike literally just talked like we talked just earlier for what 15 minutes talking about how we did enjoy the game this week, right? We actually had a good
Exactly.
time. So anytime it does improve at all, it's always nice. Um, the one thing I want to talk about in specific with the test is just like some information that I got from a friend of mine, and but
Please.
also a enemy racer, EchoBit. Um,
And yeah, they went to be fair, they went the Stanton side, right?
I'm not 100%. No, no, no. They went Pyro, I believe.
Okay. Okay.
As they've got a bunch of information about Pyro. So,
Okay.
first off, a bunch of extra Pyro stuff was in, which isn't super
Yes.
surprising. So, Pyro 4 was there with all of its moons, including Pyro 5. Because if you don't know, Pyro 5 orbits Pyro 4. They're like almost a double planetoid system.
Hmm.
Apparently, there's not a ton of like variance between them, but there is like I think there's like 5 moons around it, so it's not super surprising that they're not insanely unique, right?
I
Like you're
I
going to
jumped
see moons that look like Lyria. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I jumped to Pyro 6 and it wasn't there.
Yeah,
So,
Pyro 6 not there, as is Ruin Station. That is also not there. And I imagine they're going to keep Ruin Station really, really close to their hearts until we like maybe get Pyro in a PTU, just because it would be a big. It's one of those like big hype building secret things that they can release, and it would just make sense from that aspect. Um, the tech for or at least the feature of the jump point is there. and the features around it are actually very complex. It is very detailed. There's a lot to it. I'm not going to go into everything about it, but apparently it has its own gravity. It warns you if your ship is going to be in danger because it's too big. All of these different kind of things are about it. So
Oh, so
that's pretty sweet.
literally the jump point size was being communicated.
Essentially, yeah, like it says, hey, your ship's too big for
Nice.
this. You're in like a red zone if you try to do this.
That's cool.
Um, so there's some stuff about that. Also, once again, before I go any further, this is Evocati. All this stuff's going to change probably as well. So don't keep any of this as like this is 100% how the feature's going to work.
Yeah, there were no missions in
Yeah.
Pyro. So
Yep.
any instability that happened tended to happen on the Crusader side. Like I don't have I played it. I played it for a couple hours.
Hmm.
I don't have anything to really share because all I did was quantum travel around and nothing happened because there were no missions. None of the stations were working. Like there was nothing to do. So all you did was
Hmm.
kind of float around. I didn't even see a solar flare. I don't even know if those were
Yeah.
on. Right.
Yeah,
So
that might not have been. Yeah.
I literally just floated around and I just said, you know what? I did my part, '07, and said goodbye to everybody, and that was it.
Hmm.
Because again, this was the least interesting test that we can possibly share with you, which is very similar to the initial Evo replication layer test, which was
Yeah.
where replication layer recovery isn't even on and we're just gathering data. Like that's literally
Yep.
all it was. So there's not a lot to share on that end. But we went from that replication layer test to the replication layer test that we're dealing with today. So,
Hmm.
the post also said that future tests will be coming. I imagine those future tests will be open to more people. One of the things that I definitely want to share here is that it sounded like it was supposed to be 100 on both sides, but it ended up being 50 and 50. And I don't
Hmm.
know if that was due to the lack of players playing Evocati, or which is a very common issue, or
Yep.
did they actually cap it at 50-50 and we were server meshed with 100 players total? So there's a lot of questions that this is going to open up.
Mhm.
If things were this small, can server meshing scale? Right?
Yeah.
It opens up questions that nobody knows the answers to until they try. But
Hmm.
when they open it up to more people, we're going to really see if this thing can handle us.
Yeah. I will say at the very least, if it was an issue of like they just didn't have enough people testing at the time, makes a lot of sense. It was a 4-hour test, right? And it
Yeah,
happened once, as
not
per usual,
at
it
a good
happened like
time for
late
you.
American time zone,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Like, so that's be understandable. So we just need to see if it happens
Yep.
again. And they did talk about, they said specifically there's going to be tests that they're hoping to do this week. They didn't say if that's going to be Evocati, PTU, whatever. But I imagine they're going to do this again pretty soon. Um, so hopefully we'll get to talk about it again. And the big thing is we talked a little bit about you weren't allowed to jump between the two systems. Their reasoning for that was apparently there was a bug that would crash everyone. Now, I don't know if they meant everyone in the mesh or everyone per server, whatever it was, but it would crash everyone and everyone would have to restart.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there you go. So uh, if that was truly just a bug, if it was just actually a bug that can be fixed, opposed to literally not being ready, like something is missing from the tech, then it's possible we could see an actual jump as soon as this week, which is what I'm hoping for.
Yep. And I mean, just might as well point this out. This is a publicly posted thing in the focus testing section
Mhm.
Spectrum, and yeah, they just say audience Evocati only under NDA equals no streaming videos or screenshots. So just to reiterate
Yep.
some of the things we had talked about previously, and yeah, they kind of
Yeah.
give you all the details here about all that, and then some of the known issues. When I read this, I thought pyro-based missions meant like the bombing mission, like the specific
Sure.
pyro-based
Right.
missions.
The
I
ones
jump in
that
game
have been
without
unique. Yeah.
exactly. So I jump in game. I'm like, all right, I know what I'll do. I'll just salvage. Right. I'll do
Yeah.
something that is doing something, and I grab a salvage mission. It's at Hurston L4. I'm in pyro. How do I get there?
Yep.
I can't go through a jump gate. So yeah,
That
that's what they
second
meant.
known issue is an interesting one. Just quickly, Stanton-based missions may be offered while in Pyro.
Yeah, that's what I got. I got a Hurston L4
Yeah,
mission.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So The one thing that I'll say, and me and Croncy actually discussed this a little bit when we were prepping for the show,
Mm,
is I'm a little concerned with what I saw with Pyro. Is how old is this build?
mm,
Was the build that was shown at CitizenCon and that we played immediately after CitizenCon very much thrown together? I saw no coronal mass injections or whatever. I saw no missions. I saw the stations broken. I saw elevators broken. This thing was a mess. And then from the standpoint of the only things that we've seen are some of the planets being added with quantum
mm.
jumps. Is that something to be concerned about? Personally,
Maybe.
not really, because you know where the focus is for the entire
Yeah.
company. The focus is on 323, and all those things are very Stanton focused. And
Yeah.
I'll let you speak on this, but then I have more
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, like, I think it's maybe a thing to be concerned about if they don't have different builds of Pyro being tested for other things, which
I
is
don't.
probably what the case is, because
You're
they
right.
tend to have multiple builds of like different patches being worked on at the same time
Yep.
before they come together for a patch release, right? So it's very
100%.
possible that this build is just, yeah, look, Pyro's balked. We don't care. We're not here to test
Yep.
Pyro. We're here to test server meshing. Send it through.
Exactly. And the only other thing that I would say on it is if you are concerned that it's borked, and if you are that, and we aren't, that doesn't mean you're wrong or we're
Mm.
right.
Yeah.
It's just that the one thing that I would like hold off on is when the company is focused on Pyro to see what they can actually do. And it doesn't feel
Yeah.
like the company is focused on Pyro. Now, Duncan Bunton typed in chat, and I believe if I'm correct, I think they worked on
He
the
made
solar
it.
flare. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The solar flare in the demo was not server mesh compatible, hence it was not enabled. There you go. So
That's interesting. I wonder, like, it's one of those sort of like wonders of game dev. Like, why? How has that been
time,
programmed that it's not server meshing compatible though? Like,
time,
what?
because they got to get it in.
Oh, it's
They
just so
had to
weird.
have it for SitCon.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
like the only thing I can think of, and that's why I was like, they threw this thing together for SitCon, and
yeah,
is that okay? Probably.
yeah.
You
It's
know.
fine.
So it's whatever. Did we have a good time with it? Yes. Who cares? But
Yeah,
again, what the team can do when they're focused on Pyro, we'll actually see. This year is
hmm
I've talked a lot on the show about like what the theme of this year is, and it's always different. But I feel like the theme of this year is probably seeing what a full studio that's focused on Star Citizen can do.
yeah.
And I think
One
this is
hundred
one of
percent.
those things, right?
Yeah.
You wanna
No, definitely.
you wanna jump into callers, or do you have anything else you want to add
Yeah.
for the play test?
No, that's pretty much it. The only other thing I guess I'll say is because we didn't have an SCL this week, we don't know what next week's IC is going to be about, do we? Oh no, we do. We do because they talked about it like 2 weeks ago. I believe it's freight elevators.
Oh shit! Okay, cool.
I believe someone
I
someone will
hope.
correct me in chat, but they said it like 2 weeks ago. In 2 weeks, or like a week ago, they said in 2 weeks we'll be looking at this. So
Hmm.
I'd have to double check that.
Let's hope so. Let's
Yeah.
hope so, because that'd be cool. And we talked last week about the vehicle elevators not being a thing, right? Kind of sad.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah, that was last week, so I'm sure they'll touch on that a little bit. Hopefully,
yep.
it's a bit of a yikes. You want to go to callers though?
Yeah, let's get Moldan in, one of our racing competitors as well this week, but also someone who gave me a bunch of like help and to helped me strive to be my best. Moldan, how
Yeah,
you doing?
he's been
What's up?
my Achilles heel. He keeps beating me too. Welcome, dude.
So I think since the last topic you discussed was server meshing, might as
Mhm.
well start with that and then go into racing.
Yep.
I feel like because so far we've only seen 2 dedicated game servers and one for Pyro, one for Stanton.
Mhm.
If Evo builds continue to be successful, we're gonna probably see 4.0 this year with just one server per system first,
Yep.
and then they'll start doing like multiple static servers per system,
Yeah,
which
I think
is great.
that's how they described it. I think last year is the last time they described it like that. Is that it was almost certainly going to be on initial implementation, one Pyro, one Stanton, and then evolve from there.
Yeah, because I feel like if we manage to see that, that'd be awesome. I feel like this is the latest Evo build was the one thing that actually meant, hey, we might actually see 4.0. It's not a myth. This might become a reality.
See, I didn't get that feeling yet from this. If I jump, then I get that feeling. I feel like
Oh yeah.
for me
I agree
that's
for sure. Yeah.
the for pun intended, the bridge that would um that would make me feel that feeling. That would bridge that
Yeah,
gap that I have now.
yeah, because once you're
Yeah.
able to show like where I can bring my things from one server to another server
Yeah.
with minimal issues. That's the actual feature, right?
Yeah.
That's the actual important
Yeah.
part of the feature. So,
Because
yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
Because is
And
4.0 going to be a fully fleshed out, perfect pyro system and like full economy, everything that you ever wanted in the video game? Is it beta? No, dude, it's not going to be. It's going to be the boring Stanton that we have now, the boring pyro that we had in the playtest, like, quote unquote boring. Like, obviously, there were some cool things in both, but the incomplete systems with the complete tech that allows us to go between them, and then it will build from there. Just think back to what 3.0 is. It's just an iteration on the tech and not an iteration on the game necessarily. So to have the expectation of, if we are able to jump between systems, of 4.0 being an actual thing, I don't think you're coping too hard. But I think that
yeah,
that you are coping until we see ourselves actually
absolutely, I
jump
agree
between
with
a
that. Yeah,
system.
yeah. The
Yeah.
cope
Yeah,
the cope meters have been risen up since back from CitizenCon again.
yeah,
Yeah. Just a little.
So the mission thing, and this I thought about this, and then DJ like mentioned the CMEs not being compatible. I
Yep.
feel like the reason why pyro missions were not working is just because the mission system was not ready for server meshing tech. It's just
Yes.
like they need to
sure,
work
yeah,
on that.
And again, concern, yes. That's something
Yeah,
worth being
absolutely.
concerned about
Yeah,
to me.
yeah.
Because
Because
should
that's a big thing.
creating the ridiculous number of missions that we saw in testing in the PTU for this overdrive thing be their priority, or should be getting all missions to work in pyro in a server mesh environment be a priority? Now, this is one of those things where, like, okay, we're being too game devy here, and like, you don't know what's a priority, you don't know what's not, and you don't know what they're working on, and I don't know what they aren't. But to sit there and go, like, the first test, none of this stuff was in pyro and none of it was working in a server meshed environment, how do you expect me not to be at least slightly concerned? And I'm slightly concerned that it's like, why are we working on this thing that, seemingly doesn't add anything to the game, in the same way that getting your stuff to work with server meshing would? And who knows if those people actually would be the ones to work on that, right? So, but I still just think, like, whoa, that's a little red flag.
Yeah,
Maybe a yellow flag,
and
but still, it's a flag.
it like hopefully the all of the effort they've put in to make the missions modular actually pay off, and they
Yep.
do get much less like work that needs to be done on the stuff to work properly.
Maintenance, right? Like the
Yeah.
constant
Yeah.
maintenance that these missions
Yeah.
seem to need every single patch. Like, we need to,
Yep.
like, I don't care if we don't get a new mission in 2023. Like, let's
Yeah,
get the ones
yeah.
that we have functioning, and
Up
build
to
off
standard.
of
it's
that foundation.
you know it's 2024, right, Mike?
Dude, I've been saying 2023 at the beginning of Weekend Review so many times, and everybody keeps giving me crap for it in the comments. Yeah.
In regards to the missions, how integrated do we think the mission tech is with the current mobiGlas? Because that could be a potential like reason
Oh, yeah.
why that's happened. I would imagine it's quite heavy, just
It
because
has
of
to
the way
be,
the
because
mobiGlas works.
otherwise they'd have to rework like a ton of missions from the past. It has to
Yeah.
work with the.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is maybe the reason why we didn't see it at all is because it wasn't worth working on, because it completely changes with the new mobiGlas.
Yeah.
I don't know how
good point.
missions that we
So-
currently have would change with the new mobiGlas.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It depends on how integrated missions are currently with the mobiGlas. Like, how dependent are they on the mobiGlas tech? Because then there has to be a separation there when they're like, making these features.
I feel like they're two different things. I feel like the mobiGlas communicates the mission to you, but the mission is still its own thing.
Sure.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you could be right. I could be wrong. Like, I don't know. You know.
Was there any mentions of missions persisting through the crash that happened on the Evo build? Obviously, you were in Pyro, so it's like
Yeah, I
you
didn't get.
have no way of knowing.
You
Yeah,
might
no
know
idea.
Croncy, but I didn't hear anybody mention that.
No idea.
Yeah.
Because there was a build in when 322 went to the PTU in Wave 1 where contracts were persisting through relogs. Like that was an IC report I created, so I remember that very clearly. And it feels like maybe at that either that was like a very big coincidence and was a bug, or they probably were trying to work on that kind of stuff to make the missions persist, because they did persist, and actually salvage missions spawned new salvage on relog. You could just infinitely do salvage.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's-
great. So now 323, we've still got infinite money glitches, guys.
Yep. God, I hope not. I hope not. It's been such a rough year as far as stuff like that has been. The last like few months have been so brutal. I don't know. You want to talk about racing now, or is there still some more server meshing things?
Yes. This is most of my notes on server meshing. So yeah,
Yeah.
racing, Gravlevs. Basically, the main reason why I even played Star Citizen this week. This was been
By the
so
way,
refreshing.
this man has more hours in Clio Islands than anybody on the planet. Okay, the person in the call now has more hours than me, and I am a fairly distant second.
He was messaging me during like ATC last week, like, "Hey, the Gravlevs are up. Are you ready to go? Come on, let's get to it."
Yeah. So, congrats to TJ and his team. This like once again making AC something that makes Star Citizen worth playing. That
and the vehicle
this
team,
is
yeah.
like, absolutely, yeah. This was a great experience. I based on like not based, but because there was discussion on master modes, like you were discussing it before ATC. I kind of understand the frustration of the PvP community a bit in terms of learning the stuff, and like we had some time to grind the races, and now we learned the Gravlev vehicles and their like weird features. And I understand that, for example, for some of these features that they need to be fixed, and then my advantages that I learned over it will go away. But I know that's a good thing. But I do get the PvP's community frustration somehow more because of it. This is like a thing I got from this as well. And also, as you mentioned, the leaderboards. If DJ had not posted the leaderboards,
I would have never played.
And I never, absolutely, that was like a really big motivation. Absolutely.
Like, I beat you, and like maybe you were like you were about done with your stream, Croncy, or you were about done playing Moldan, right? And then it's like, I gotta go again. Right? Like I would beat Croncy, and then 10 minutes later Croncy would beat me. And I was like, all right, I want to do something else. But then I can't. I gotta win. And I'm if I enjoy something, I will be competitive in that thing. And that's I think I get a lot of shit from other creators in the space, especially, which bothers me, but other players that I don't play the game and I just react. Stuff like that, because the game's not fun to me. A lot of the aspects of the game are not fun, especially the combat aspects. I don't find them enjoyable. But even through this of like just the gradual improvement that I've made through racing makes me want to start trying to become competitive in like master modes or something like that, because I enjoyed this so much. And the again, if I enjoy something, I will play it. And because the game has been, the PU in particular, has been so unenjoyable and so not rewarding at all, I don't play it. And for people who do, I'm not knocking on the fact that you play it. I don't care. But don't knock me for not enjoying it, right? Because if I do enjoy it, there you go. I'll play my ass off. I played more than anybody except for Moldan on Clio Islands.
Yeah, if the Gravlev races did not come out this week, I would have played Helldivers all week, and that's it.
I would have played
not
Stellaris.
have touched Star Citizen.
I would have played Stellaris or Helldivers.
Yeah, it was a super good breath of fresh air at a very convenient time. And in addition to that, it got me more stuck into the game than I had been in probably the last 6 months.
Yeah, dude, I was
So.
playing. Like I was like, all right, time for bed. I could hop on and do a couple practice laps. You know, like I enjoyed the hell out of it, man, and I think like my progress on speed shows how much I enjoyed it. And yeah, I can't wait to do more. Yeah, I missed playing
Yeah,
Valheim this week actually. Yeah, because of it. Mm-hmm.
Mike's in trouble.
Yeah, and I think what's being said in chat from Hey It's Nick is it's really quick and easy to pick up. Like you don't need the 6 degrees of freedom thing. It is like a really nice entry into like just Star
Specifically
Citizen
Clio
stuff.
Islands, to be fair.
Yes, only Clio Islands. Yeah. But
Well, yeah,
Moldan, we took a lot of your
I've-
racing time up. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I never thought I would be into SC racing, and the Gravlevs were definitely like a gateway to much more. Yesterday I decided, hey, I'll just log into the PU and go to Crusader and try out that buggy track I've never tried out. Like, let me just go and see what that's about. I mean, it's still not ship racing, but it's ground racing. I might as well experience it, and that was kind of interesting as well. And
yeah, like I might jump into a little ship racing.
Yeah. It gives you the motivation to try stuff that you otherwise wouldn't, because you expected it not to be fun, and this was so much fun that you just have like a room for even even if it's not fun, I might as well try. And like we talked about Clio being one of the easiest ones, but there's still maps that if you give it a bit of time, obviously the current like the major issue with Gravlevs where you just start flying away, you basically never stop and just and you keep going. That's annoying. But once you kind of so once they fixed it, or if you want to try it now, once you kind of understand what it's about, there's so much fun stuff to do on other maps as well. Like, and this is thanks to Herbie in chat that we've been racing. There's a strat to do on Snake Pit Reverse.
Snake Pit Reverse,
where you keep the default height, the right height at default at all times, and you can get so much like as such an easier time. You will
get a top 10 if you just default height the entirety of Snake Pit Reverse. You will get a top 10. It's crazy.
I it's too long of a track. I don't know.
I disagree. I reckon Clio is too small, which is actually just quickly there's one thing we didn't mention about, which is the time of the tracks. Every track is only 3 laps, which I think is perfect for Snake Pit Reverse, where you're there for 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Clio, you're there for a minute and a half.
Yeah.
So it's just way too fast.
I want a 15 lap Clio. Like
absolutely.
Right now, what Gravlev and I think even ship racing is it's more like, if you're familiar with like Formula One or other racing in real life, it's more like qualifying. You're just trying to get the fastest lap time. Even just because there's only 3 laps on like Clio, it's not really a representative race. Like there's no opportunity to catch up to the leader or start from the back and get caught up on like a competitive race. Like we had a couple competitive races where it was me, Croncy, Moldan, Nick, like all the people that were on the top 5 in the leaderboard at the time were all racing in the same track, and whoever was in front pretty much stayed in front, and it didn't really change anything.
Nick rammed into me so many times on the first turn. Every time I would get in there, I was so mad, but I loved it at the same time. I was like this is a fun experience.
Yeah.
But Nick, you're banned from my channel.
It's more like speed running instead of racing. I feel like we're not racing
right
yet.
now. Yeah.
And I've definitely and I saw you, Mike, have some laps like that as well in offline. In offline practice, I definitely saw some of my times get much better with like more laps, and sometimes I made more mistakes. So it definitely would benefit from that, because you could definitely like some people would just get better times and catch up, and the other people in the front would just make mistakes and like smash into things and. Yeah,
because of muscle memory, right? The more laps you get, the more in a groove you get. That's what racing is about. It's about getting into a groove, and and really feeling it. But we got a few more callers, Moldan. So I would
Yep.
say
Yeah. Thank you for this.
wrap it up. Give your last thoughts here on things.
Again, thank you, BJ, and your team, obviously, for doing this, like making Star Citizen exciting for this week. This
Mhm.
has basically been the thing for this patch. Like so far, I
Yeah.
have not seen anything else that's
Yeah.
interesting.
For
But yeah,
real, for real.
thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Of course,
cheers.
of course. All right, cheers, Moldan.
Cheers.
Bye. All
Get that
right.
dirty cheater out of here.
I don't know what happened to second, so we'll bring in Fortunate. Fortunate, can you hear
Fortunate,
me?
how you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Good,
Going well.
good. How you doing?
Pretty all right. Been waiting to get on and answer the call for a while now, so I'm pretty stoked.
Hey, hell
Hell
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I kind of feel like a fish out of water though, because been waiting a long time, but yeah, I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest expert on server meshing or even racing. Know nothing about that.
Neither are we.
Um,
Yeah.
Who cares?
We pretend to be. That's how it works.
okay.
Yeah. Don't feel
I mean, what? Yeah,
out
yeah.
of place or anything.
What I can comment on though is flying in general. I
Okay.
remember watching your reaction to CitizenCon with Level Up
Level cap.
and or Level Cap. Yeah, sorry. But yeah, I remember you mentioning that the flying feels floaty. And I kind of get that feeling too. I really like resonated with that comment. And part of me wonders if, like, with master modes, that sort of feeling is like going away, or if it's still there.
You're a little bit more in control of your ship, I would say.
Yeah. I certainly feel more in control. Like once
Yeah.
again, all my master modes stuff has just been PvE stuff. But like I feel like it is easier for me to go to the locations that I want to go to or turn where I want to because I'm forced to go at a lower speed. And so while I might be more at chance of getting destroyed because I'm bad at flying, I feel better, you know?
Yeah. It's very
Yeah.
hard to say, but we'll know, like players like myself or Croncy that do more like, flying a prospector or flying a vulture or things like that. Um, we've never had the opportunity to know what it feels like to fly those things in master modes yet. So it's hard to say like the different feelings. Like how often do I fly a Gladius
Yeah.
versus something like that, right? So I don't really have the feel for ship combat.
Sure. I mean, when it comes to master modes, part of me always thought that it was a combat thing, but seeing everyone talk about racing and how like
Mm.
the general flight model changing has changed like, well, basically everything.
I don't know
It's
if
really
it's
interesting
changed
to
the
me.
Gravlev thing as much. Like the thing that we're enjoying is not really affected by
By
any
Sure.
master modes,
master
no.
modes changes, at least
Yeah,
not
no,
currently.
but flying racing is for sure because you were
Mhm.
essentially flying a light fighter,
Yeah.
really. That is what you were doing before, so it's very different. I don't like it, but I was also never, like I said, I was never really good at flying racing. I'd only really started. Um, so like my opinion on how that's impacted is sort of like defected to whatever Splen says is probably right, and and I'll go
Sure.
off that.
Yeah, I
Where's
mean,
he in
I'm not.
Gravlev, by the way?
Splen hasn't been doing Gravlev. I
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
why. I would have thought he would be really into it because he does enjoy ground racing for the most part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my experience in flying, I mean, I'm terrible in Star Citizen, but
Mm.
I did play Star Wars Squadrons. I was kind of decent at that. I thought the flight model there was amazing. I mean,
Squadrons was fun.
yeah. I thought it had a really low skill floor, a high skill ceiling, and like part of me thinks that that's the direction that they were trying to go with master
Mm.
modes. I'm not sure it's there, but then again, I can't really say anything. I haven't dived into Star Citizen for a while now. I
Yeah.
kind of just
Yeah.
follow the project. I watch content creators like Mike and Board Gamer and stuff like that. But yeah, the whole master modes thing is really interesting, though. I mean,
Yeah. It's such a fundamental change in how the game is played, for the most part, right? Other than FPS gameplay, it's what you're going to be spending the most of your time doing is flying a ship. So it makes a sense that it is this massive job that's going to require a lot of work, but it's also going to take a really long time to get it to work right. And so there's going to be people will never not complain about it, regardless of how it ends up. So it's going to take a while for them to find the spot where the least amount of people are complaining, or at the very least, everyone is equally unhappy.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's definitely hard to make a scenario where everyone is happy. I feel like that's the story of Star Citizen in general, but
Well,
yeah.
I don't think they necessarily care if everyone's happy, but they want to make sure that they represent a game that everybody would want to buy a ship for. At least that's what they've
Yep.
been very good at
Sure.
lately, or over the last 10 years. Is let's perceive that it's a game that everybody wants to play, but then as we get into actually developing it, turns out it's not as simmy as some people want. It's not as easy as other people want, and then yeah, you're just not gonna make anyone happy. It's gonna be tough. I've been saying this for the entire time I've been following the project, many years. When this game comes out, most of the people who've been following it throughout its development are not going to like the game
Mhm.
because they've created something in their head about what it would be rather than what it actually ends up being. So you either enjoy what they make or you don't. And there are lots of other video games. Video games are great. There's many of them, and I think some people are going to move on to something they enjoy more. And it's sad, but it's
Yeah.
just the reality of what it's going to be. They
Yep.
have to make
Yeah.
decisions, and then those decisions might not make everybody happy. Master modes is definitely one of those decisions. It seems like.
Absolutely. I mean, plenty of those.
Yeah, there's
Bit of a
plenty of videos
tangent,
right
but
now.
I remember watching a clip of yours where you were watching a reaction to it was a reaction to insurance. I'm forgetting
Mhm.
the name, Fairster, I believe.
Probably,
But
yeah. I think I remember that video.
yeah, so many of those, so many of those. And part of it worries me too, because I think a lot of these are like super important. And as we get closer, well, closer to the mythical launch, 20
Yeah.
years closer, 20 years away. But, I think a lot of these things, who knows?
Yeah, but
But
all
I
right,
don't know.
Fortunate. Do you have anything to talk about on the actual topics from today's
Wow.
podcast?
Well, I mean, yeah, I was trying to link it into racing a little bit. I
No
figured
worries.
flying the flight model, but yeah, when it comes to server meshing, you know, of course, that's something super exciting. I'm very excited. My understanding is like a layman that knows nothing about like tech or coding or whatever
Mhm.
And it doesn't
is
need to
really
be any
just,
more than that. It doesesn't matter. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
you could.
It's really just what I get from consuming content, right? Like, so I watched Space Tomato's interview. He interviewed a couple of engineers recently, a networking engineer and like I believe a software engineer. And a long time ago, he interviewed a networking engineer. And it's interesting to see. I'm not sure if it's a difference in opinion or if it's a difference in like access to information, but the networking engineer he interviewed a long time ago, his like I guess his general take was really different from the two people Tomato interviewed recently. And I'm wondering if that's just the demo coming out or it's just personal opinion.
I think it's a
You know,
lack of
the,
information. You don't work at the
Yeah.
company, right? You don't actually
yeah,
know
oh
what's
well,
happening. They only communicate what they want to communicate to us.
Absolutely. I mean, when it comes to everyone, like it's just shooting in the dark. And I think these experts also they point that out as well that, they really without the information they can't know for sure.
Yeah.
But again, like, I mean,
But they certainly have
there are
more of
general
a
inferences that they can take.
yeah. They certainly have more of a base of understanding than any of us would, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it would be weird to ignore them entirely or disregard any of their comments as not valuable because of that. But at the same time, it's hard to consider them valuable if they aren't actually working
Right.
on it. But it's hard
Yeah.
because then you have to believe everything CIG says, and if you've been around long enough to know that you shouldn't do that all the time because things change, and I don't think they've ever done anything like super maliciously. A few things, but most things, no.
No, yeah. I don't think it's malicious. Uh
Some things,
I
very
mean,
few. Most things are
Yeah.
just whoops.
They definitely nerfed the saber 3 years ago as spite to me specifically.
I
Yeah,
think
lots of those.
I think the Carrick not telling backers when it was delayed
Mm.
and selling it at CitizenCon, like, you know, hyping it up, things like that. There's been some moments that have, but most of them are around ship sales.
Yep.
Last chance,
Yeah,
the
the ship
FHC,
sales are
stupid
definitely
shit,
something.
you know,
Yeah,
that kind of
the
stuff.
FAC. But yeah, no, you know, I I think it's good to like mention these types of things and push back a little bit because I do think that yeah, especially when it comes to sales, CIG is a little bit I mean, part of me thinks that like so I have this big thing I'll get into with my friends like about the project. Like I'm a little bit more positive about it.
Mhm.
And part of that I think is because part of it is copium, absolutely. But like part of it is like I'll look at other games that like take a long time to develop, and the examples I always use are Red Dead Redemption 2. I use Starfield nowadays as an example. Cyberpunk, Baldur's Gate, like all these games that have like really long development times, and you know, with Cyberpunk, even longer than the time of release, right? Because in order to get it into a polished state, it took, I mean, a couple of years after launch, even.
Mhm.
But I don't know, like I guess to me, like games like Starfield really give me hope for Star Citizen because it really makes me appreciate like because I like Starfield, but you know, it's not quite the game
It
I
had its
wanted
issues,
out
yeah.
of
Yep.
yeah.
Watch if only Starfield could do a cyberpunk in the next 2 years and become a completely different and amazing game, right? That'd be absolutely fantastic. I want to touch
One
on one thing you said though quickly. That also is actually a thing that Mike, you were on a podcast like a couple weeks ago. I don't remember the name, but the thing that sort of takes away that like the monetary stuff for me. Someone asked Mike in that podcast, like, what is the expected like money that you'll pay in Star Citizen, like a player will pay? Because if you're doing Final Fantasy 14 or you're doing World of Warcraft or anything like that, higher level gameplay, you're essentially expected to spend a lot of money. And then, yeah, Mike said the correct answer, which is $45. No one cares. People, we want bodies. We want people in our ships more than we want ships. You know what I mean? So that's been like a really, really big driving factor for me for why like some of those like big problems, and they still are big problems that happen with sales, don't seem as big to me.
Yeah, it's fair.
Yep.
It's yeah, we need people in the game. We don't need people buying more ships at
Mm.
this point. I mean, they need the money
sure.
obviously, but
Yeah.
the more the
Part of
better, I think. But
part of me
fortunate,
thinks though
just
it's
before
hard
you
to draw a
hold on,
crowd.
fortunate,
Oh,
just one
yeah.
sec before you move on to the like, I just want to make sure that this is the last thing that we do because we got a couple other callers to get to. So just letting you know that we're going to be wrapping up. So just make your final feelings here on whatever we just talked about because obviously Croncy just made a comment towards you. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'll be honest, I totally blanked out. It's like so early. I like I found out this was happening. I was like, oh man, I have to stay awake. But
Oh, he's a West Coaster,
I'll just
clearly.
make one. I
Yep.
live in Hawaii to be clear.
Oh, holy shit!
Not
Yeah,
fair.
super West.
Yeah, 6:09 right now. But I mean, I'll just make one last comment on
Okay.
server meshing, and then I'll
Mhm.
let you or I'll get off. You know, part of me as like a layperson, part of me wonders like even with it being close to done, and I do believe that it's probably there. You know, the game as a whole probably several years out at the very least, but I mean I believe that it's pretty much there. Uh, but part of me wonders, and I think one of you touched on it earlier. Maybe I'm just like starting to hallucinate because I'm tired. But you know, the outcomes in terms of like what we as the players see, like the genuine like I guess effects of the meshing. Like part of me wonders sometimes, but you know, because I think there are a lot of things we take for granted, like compared to a game like Starfield, like no loading screens and perhaps like things like that can definitely be a benefit. But yeah, I'm just interested in seeing what the server meshing tech, once it's released, what it actually does for us.
How many players will be
Yes.
on Hurston, right? And are we going to see ships coming and going from busy locations like that? It's supposed. It's the tech
Yes.
that they tell us that's supposed to make this game an MMO. I really
Yep.
hope they're right. That's all. I don't want. I can't chase another carrot on the stick. I've been chasing this one since 2015. You know,
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah,
do it
it's
anymore.
rough. It's rough. I can't completely relate. I'm not like from the very beginning, so I feel for people like you because like yeah, it must be rough.
It is. I can
I'm
tell
so
you.
glad I got in like late 2019. I feel so
Yeah,
good.
a lot of you guys are really lucky on that front for sure. Trust me. But yeah,
Awesome.
fortunate.
All right.
Thank you
Well,
so
yeah.
much for calling. Thank you for staying up. Next time, I have a solution for you. Go to bed early
All right.
and wake
all
up
right.
early.
Yeah,
Get
it's
some
early
coffee.
6. That's early time.
Yeah, I'll be honest, it was a spur of the moment decision because
Yeah.
again, like I've been following your content for a while now, but
Thank
yeah,
you, dude. I appreciate it.
really love it. Keep up the good work. All right.
Thank you. Yeah, and
Gotcha.
thank you for the call. It
Bye-bye.
was awesome.
Yeah. Cheers, mate.
Later, bro. Oh, that was cool. Hawaii. I don't think we've ever had anyone from Hawaii before.
Yeah.
But Nick,
Hello.
welcome.
How you doing?
Great.
So Croncy. Nick's the reason that I beat you on the leaderboards at all.
He's also the reason that I keep on crashing all the time.
Well, if you were faster, I wouldn't hit you.
If you were faster, you wouldn't hit me.
I am faster. That's why I'm hitting you, because you're in my way.
So, just so everybody knows, my original the original advice that people were giving me is that you have to strafe down to go fast. That's how they said it.
Yeah.
You got to strafe down to go fast. So the first 3 days I raced, I held strafe down. So I
Like
kept
the entire lap.
Yes, I was beating you going 180 meters per second max.
Well, to be fair, just a very small tangent. To be fair, as we did find out, Herbie got a 34-second lap today with no boost.
Yeah.
So I'm actually not surprised you were able to do that. Anyway,
Yeah,
continue.
exactly. So like it's possible, but
Yeah.
it wasn't easy, right? So I was like really struggling with it, and like I'm like, why are these? Because when I was racing with Moldan or Nick, I'm like, how are they just We're not. We just started. We're going the same speed, and we were never 45 meters per second faster. That's so much faster.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep.
Nick was the one was like, hey, I watched like your VOD, and you're just going 180.
No.
Yeah,
So you need to get lower.
I just sent you the DM and be like, yeah, you're going. I looked at your VOD. I'm like, you've never passed 180. You never passed that. I'm like,
I'm just holding straight down.
For reference, it's got a 225 meters a second top speed.
Yep.
225. Very fast.
So for the first couple of days of our competition, I was just handcuffing myself the entire time.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a soft limit. You can make it to go faster, but I digress.
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, Nick's the one who told me and changed my love for racing very quickly. It immediately I was like, oh my God, the ship is going so fast I can't control it. But then once I got under control,
I know
like,
that moment
amazing.
where it's just like, now you're blacking out and you're like, I need to control this now.
Yeah. It was awesome. But Nick, server meshing or racing, whatever, you got the floor.
I'll start with server meshing, then get into the racing. I'm honestly like super excited. I'm not overwhelmed by like all the server meshing news. I kind of expected like server meshing tests to kind of happen March-ish time. So I'm kind of patting myself on the back for getting that guess right. I guessed it very publicly, and so I'm more like glad that it's finally happening, and they're doing it in early steps like this, where it's pretty much just get 2 servers running on the same shard and on the same replication layer, and just have it collecting data and having that data be sent back and forth right now in Evo. And I'm very glad they're doing just very basics testing right now, and step up to, okay, well now the next step is going to depending on how they want to do it, I'm going to be interested to see if they're just going to go right into like, okay, let's have the gem points now, or if they're going to make it so that, okay, maybe the gem point isn't active now, but maybe they'll do 2 servers on each side and have those meshed together. and test that meshing first before they have people go back and forth with a jump point. So I'm interested to see what the next steps are, but I'm definitely expecting small steps, not big steps. And as it should be, this should be a small methodical steps and getting things correct and getting as many issues out of the way with each step.
Yeah, it was
And
the point.
I'm glad they're doing it that way.
It was the point of the test preview channel, right? This was the whole thing that they sold us on. It was, we're going to be able to take small looks at things and little things that we're not prepping for the very next patch. Like, it's not in the 3.23 branch, any of this stuff, really, right? So that, I mean, maybe replication layer, but yeah.
Yeah, I will say I don't think the way that they've talked about it, the implementation, at least in the first like live implementation, does not sound like it will be, 2 servers per side, all 4 are meshed. It does sound like they are saying 1 server per side, those are meshed. That's it. That's where we're going. That's how they've been talking about it. So what I expect to happen with the like upcoming tests is they'll probably do 1 more that's exactly like what they did this past week, just to get more information.
Oh, and just to cut you off 1 second there, just to make it clear for everybody that's watching, how the numbers were relayed. Like, how you have a server number. Pyro was server number 10 Pyro, and then and Stanton was server number 10 Stanton. So like, just to touch on what Croncy was saying, is that they'll be linked to each other, and there's not going to be like server 2 and server 1. As far as we're aware, that's not how this current test works. So the expectation would to see that going forward for a little while is you have a meshed environment of you're on server 10, and you're either in Pyro or you're in Stanton.
Yeah, you will be meshed with specific this shard or whatever.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry for interruption, but I felt that was really, really important there.
Yeah, no. Go ahead, Nick.
With the current static server meshing, I'm interested in how they're going to handle the edge cases of just the few edge cases where, if it's only going to be 2 DGS, 1 side per Stanton and Pyro, what's it going to be what's going to be the edge case on how they're going to handle, a full server and a full server, and then another player wants to go jump to the other server. And I kind of want to know. I'm interested to see how. I'm interested to see how they're going to handle that.
I imagine the assumption
the gate is closed.
Just gate closed. Can't go.
That'd be great. That would
that'd be
an
a good
amazing
thing. Gate closed.
Yeah.
That's actually a good way to do it. Just gates closed. No travel right now.
I imagine
ATC
what will
call.
happen is that there will be a use the server numbers right now, right? Like right now we've got server limit of 100. I would imagine each server could have 50, like each server could have a maximum of 100. The 2 servers overall only have a maximum of 100. You know what I mean? So like you could have 100 in 1 shard, the entire other server is empty.
You're saying an average of 50.
I think that's what it'll be. Yeah,
Isn't that what you were saying your player numbers were at?
No, I'm just for current player numbers, just as an example. So it could be higher than that. It's just like I think it'll be like that won't be an issue because the servers will be able to handle the theoretical maximum
50 average
of both.
Yeah.
Mike, didn't you say earlier that that's what your server numbers are at? We're at 50.
Allegedly. Yeah. I was stupid and I never even looked, but that's what everybody was saying.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
So that'd be maybe a way they may do it. We might just still be locked at 100.
Total. And I guess that'll be a thing, but I think that would to me again, like to the first caller that was talking about 4.0, if that's the case, then this is the worst possible example of, like, if you are, for me, this is just my personal preference. If you are going to say we did server meshing, you better damn well come with a higher player cap, because that is what you came and told us that this would do. You better not go and sell me that the whole C is working like you did when it wasn't, right? Like that kind of shit. And I don't want to see that with this. I want to see this come and actually deliver what it said to some extent, where you can see the potential and see it improving over time. But not if we're 50-50, that's a horrible That
I
would be
agree,
that
I
would
agree.
be like
Yeah.
the sky is falling problem if they release it and
Yeah.
say this is server meshing. Get out of here.
I can also understand the technical side of things with that, where it's just like, well, we also want to make sure that like if the 50 players decide to go to Pyro,
Yes.
then that would be 100 players that server, and then no one would be on that server, and who knows what's going to happen.
But also
Yeah, well,
like
they've displayed before that they can do higher than 100. When we had that period of like 4 months ish
Yeah.
where they were playing around with the server numbers, we had like 150. I don't know if it ever went higher than that, but we had 150 player servers running. I honestly don't remember how it went, but we know that it was something they were
it
trying
was okay.
to do. And the with this test, the thing that I expect is that we get at least a 200 cap across both, just because if you do make it the 100, even like a 150 or anything like that, you inevitably just make both systems emptier than they currently are.
Exactly. It would just
And
be a
so
worse
it's like-
experience, right?
Exactly, yeah. So it does have to be higher in order to be a good experience.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily have to be higher on the very first patch, but it has to be quick, has to be soon.
Or and they have to express like exactly what Nick is saying. Like, hey, we have this edge case where we don't really have the system in the game to be like, hey, when you call the air traffic controller to go through the jump point, they'll let you know to wait because the server's full. And then you'll be waiting in a queue, and then when the queue is up, you'll go in like as if you're in a queue waiting to get in a server. In a menu, but instead of in the menu, you're chilling in game,
Waiting in a line,
point.
and you're in the
Yeah.
Pyro
Thank you for
jump
calling ATC. We're
Yeah.
experiencing higher traffic than usual
Go
today.
park here.
Yeah, you know, and I
Like
mean,
going
God,
through
that would be
McDonald's drive-through. You drive through and like go to the lot 1 while we get your food ready.
yeah. But the real solution to that would be the two servers not being connected to each other, and it wouldn't be server 10 and server 10. You would go from server 10 Pyro to server 20 Stanton, right? And it would find a place for you, but who knows if they can do that yet, right? So it's just like Nick is very much calling out that like, whoa, pump those brakes, everybody. There's a lot that we don't know yet, and a lot we're going to find out over many tests that are coming up, as they said.
Yep.
There's
So
a lot
things
of
to think about.
networking behind the scenes that need to happen.
Yeah, there's things to think
things
about.
to look out for when we
exactly.
get these tests.
Exactly.
Like,
Things to look
is
out
this
for.
working?
Yep, 100%.
Yep.
Because then when that stuff starts happening, then you can go, like when you see yourself jump from server 10 to server 20, for example, you can be like, all right, we're good. Like I'm going to be able to jump whenever I want. We're good, you know?
Yeah.
No, I think what you're describing specifically in that instance is dynamic meshing.
I don't think so, actually. Dynamic meshing
But that's
will...
because static meshing is just, you know, like
Yeah, I
they
guess it
named it,
kind of
yes,
is.
like 10 and 10, but really it's 1 and 2, and you are
Because
always
then
moving
that-
between
yeah.
1 and 2. That is static meshing.
Dynamic
If you
meshing
then
will
go
have
from
like
1 to 3, that's dynamic.
I agree and disagree at the same time because, again, we're not network
that would be
programmers,
like
so how do we know?
that would be like
Yeah, fair.
that'd be like the entry level of dynamic server meshing for how
Yes.
they've decided. And I've also had a personal discussion with Benoit at a Bar Citizen with how they're going to be doing server meshing.
Okay.
Like the very first instance of dynamic server meshing isn't going to be like I think it's going to be more of what Mike's saying. It's going to be more like a dynamic live like matchmaking while it's happening. And then the next version after that, it's going to be the actual servers themselves are going to dynamically scale the world space.
Yeah, like,
and
yo, we're
control,
busy
and
over
dynamically
here.
scale and
Yes.
morph around the world space
Spool
and take
some shit
control
up.
and let go of control.
Yeah.
And that's going to be like the final version of dynamic. But there's going to be a few versions of dynamic coming in, which they even said on the their like, you know, their server meshing discussions.
God, let's just get static. Fuck.
Let's just get static in right now.
Static first.
Let's just get static with a 200-person limit.
Yeah, and
Let's just get that in.
I sincerely hope you're wrong that this is that the like going from server 1 to server 2 would be dynamic, because that would means it would be far away.
I meant specifically like if it was like this one's too busy, so you go into a different server. That would
like it
be
match
dynamic.
makes
That's what I was
you
saying. Yeah,
into like another like instance that's like not as busy.
Yeah,
Agree, but I again want to reiterate that I sincerely hope you're wrong, because the way they've communicated everything is just static first, dynamic way later. So
I think that's what it was.
I just think that would be like a good in between.
Yeah.
A good in between, like the full dynamic and the static.
Yeah, for sure.
Good stepping stone.
Yeah. All right, Nick. What else do you want to chat about?
Racing finally.
Talk to me.
I got so hooked on racing. I am like, I didn't think I would become as like well performing as I was within the short time. Like, I honestly haven't really messed around with Gravlevs at all until it hit
Same.
PTU. And then it hit PTU, and then I just was like, I can't stop. I have a problem.
Yep.
And I definitely feel like it shows how great Gravlev can be and how great racing can be. But I also it's so fun to just be able to get in, get out when you need to. Like, when you get your times down, it's just like, and you're doing Clio Islands in like a minute 40, minute and a half. It's just like, this is no time at all, just in and out, done. Like, you can get reps in even if you have like a busy night or a busy morning or whatever, and you just want to like be like, I got a few minutes, I can just get something in quick
Exactly.
and practice. And it's so good for that. And it's just like, and I love the idea of like using the PU for like the bigger weekend races where it's just like everyone has time to actually sink into like going into the PU races, which I have actually started doing now. It's like I've actually started looking at the scr.gg.
Yep.
And start looking at those leaderboards and being like, okay, maybe I'm gonna start actually taking part in like these races that are actually all player made tracks and everything, and learn those and everything. And I've actually already gone around and did a few, and I've actually I've already timed myself on a few times on the PU races on the player made side of things, and I've placed pretty well, bumped a few people out of third. But I just haven't been someone who's like actually yet to actually post those times and actually start submitting it to the player side of things. But like this has definitely gotten me way into wanting to actually like start entering like the racing community is the Gravlev racing. And I think that's going to be a lot of people. I think the only issue right now is Gravlev right now, unless you're someone like me who's like just hooked and addicted right away, like it's not a good experience for everyone coming in first try. It's just
bad for new players.
There's
look
a
at
lot
the
of issues with it.
The leaderboards are 1,100 plus people, but half of those people have not finished a race.
Yep, on Clio, which is the easiest of all.
On Clio, which is the easiest of all the tracks, exactly.
And it's really disappointing at the start of everything. Before you two really started getting into like a little heated competition, and it started bringing everyone kind of on board with the racing, and everyone kind of started getting their skills up and started all to compete. And before that, it was very empty. It was every time I was getting into like a race on Clio or something, or a race on Snake Pit or something, I would win half my races because I was the last one racing and everyone left the game, so the match just finished. And it's just
and that's so frustrating. It's like the most PM thing you can do.
It's really frustrating because I just want to finish my laps. I want to get the reps in. I want to go for my times, and then I wish the game would just let you finish the race, even if you're the last one there. Just let me get my times. Just let me get my reps in, and that would be avoided. But it really lends itself that it's not a good experience for everyone else who was in that race, especially when they're thrown into a race with me.
They're
and
like,
any
I'm
other top
going
racers, and they're just trying to learn.
They're like, I'm going 1 minute and 10 seconds. How this guy's going 31 seconds? Like what? So it can be frustrating.
I will say, one of the reasons why it was probably so empty beforehand, and especially if you're in an Australian time zone, is always empty. The racing community just is at the moment, and I'm really hoping it won't be forever, is literally the smallest community in the game. There are like these yearly polls that go out on Reddit of like, what are your favorite activities to do in Star Citizen? Racing is consistently the bottom one by a lot. Like, it is the least ticked box by a fair margin. That really sucks. I'm hoping this changes with these Gravlev races, because once again, even though it's still not super new player friendly, especially with the way that the vehicles can bounce, it is more accessible for sure than racing has been before. And I forgot where I was going with it, but all of those things.
I also stopped paying attention because somebody in chat just said I'm a part of the ERP community. So like, I got lost as well.
What were you thinking when they said that?
I was just like, what the? Oh my god. My chat. Why is my chat like this?
What
That's
happens
I
on
was
your
thinking.
Carrick stays on the Carrick. Okay, we don't need to know about it.
But yeah, I think it's definitely a good thing, and I think there's. I mean, we were talking about this yesterday when you hopped onto my stream, Nick, about like what can they change to make it better. There's a couple of small things that they could do that would infinitely make it better, and there's a bunch of large things they could do. You know?
Can I just say something? I actually went back and watched the original when they did this Gravlev rework. There's actually a short little section in the Inside Star Citizen where it's like Neom, that weird titled one. That was the last one that had the Gravlev race update that we are using now, and they specifically mentioned next steps for the Gravlev system and for the suspension system that they made, and they every single issue I brought up, they've actually said from the devs themselves, they've said those issues, including the losing control on collisions, were specifically mentioned by the devs in that Inside Star Citizen for next steps to fix.
Oh, interesting.
So it is
okay.
Fair enough.
There is a lot of issues with the Gravlevs that even back then with the 316 release of this Gravlev update that we had.
Oh God, 316.
That they. Yeah, that's when it came out. That's when it came out, and they haven't done the next steps yet.
Because nobody played it until now.
Yeah,
All the
to be fair,
feedback's
no one
coming
was
now.
on them.
That's why I kind of want to bring it up. Like, it's been almost 2 years, and we haven't received those next steps. And I'm just so that's why I want to kind of bring that point out over. It's like, hey, CIG, please work on next steps that you said in that video, because I feel like that would make the Gravlev experience a lot better, because it specifically says in that video for the next steps of the Gravlev system was it won't be shooting you up in the air, you won't be losing control on the ground, and you won't be bouncing into the ground. And it's like, this is literally all the issues we're still having.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I don't know if this is where the call is over or not. Nick, do you have anything else you want to add? But it felt like it was coming towards the
it's definitely coming to I just like to say to everyone, it's just like, don't be afraid of Gravlev racing. Just strafe down, go fast, and learn the course.
Okay,
and,
but don't strafe down permanently. You start strafing down for a few seconds. You're setting your ride height. That's it. The ride
set
height,
it and forget it.
Set it and forget it.
Yeah.
Because that was terrible advice that I got.
Mike hadn't ridden a Gravlev since 316. He didn't know.
I didn't know. I had no idea. It's dead ass. I had no idea that ride height was even a thing.
Yeah, it'd be nice if it wasn't a thing and it was just kind of you just race.
Agreed.
That'd be fun, but
I will say I actually don't
speeds.
have a massive issue with the ride height, though I think the lower should be higher and the higher should be lower. Like, I feel like it should be compressed a bit more.
a narrower window and a higher
yeah.
high, so you're not smashing into the rocks on Snake Pit every 10 feet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
But the speeds all feel really good, and somebody in chat was like,
speeds feel great.
you know, talk about racing in master modes and ships, and I'm like, I don't really have to, because 225 meters per second felt super fast if you're going.
That's
through
over
things
800
close to the
kilometers
ground.
an hour. It's like two times faster than an F1 car. Okay, we're going super fast on Gravlev. Okay.
Yeah, it's totally fine, right? And ships are faster than that, so it'll feel good.
Yeah.
But all right,
Awesome.
Nick.
All right.
Easy.
Yeah,
Cheers.
that's everything. Bye.
All right, brother.
Awesome.
Thank you
Have
so
a
much
good
for
one.
calling, and hopefully I'll get close to you again on the leaderboards, but I don't know on this one. I don't know.
I only
look
beat him
forward to it.
yesterday, and now he's back up there. Like, come on.
Exactly. It's brutal.
Yeah, but then all the other Australians got on, and now I'm down again. So
Yeah, true.
Yeah. We go again.
Cheers,
PB. It's like speed running. But all right, cheers, Nick. Be good, brother.
yeah, have a good one.
Bye now.
Catch up.
All right, and our final caller for the day, Danger Vince.
Danger Vince.
Hello,
How you
hello.
Hey guys, how's it going?
How you doing?
Fantastic.
Good. Last on, and unfortunately I've not had a chance to do much racing because I've been really busy with work and DIY about the house, but what I have done, I have loved.
Yeah.
This has scratched what I have called the Wipeout stroke Destiny Sparrow Racing itch that I've had for a longest time.
Wait, there was
to give you a bit
racing
of
in
back-
Destiny?
Yeah.
I never
Sparrow
played, so I
Racing,
don't know.
it was seasonal. So I think it was around that time on console in Destiny 1, and they would only do it every now and then. It would go, right, we're doing Sparrow Racing, we've got tracks, we're going to go up, jump on your Sparrows, earn prizes, earn skin packs, paints, you name it.
Sick.
And it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. And it was akin to the Wipeout style of racing. that kind of like very sleek, very on the edge. You know, you've
Wipeout
got
was
to take the lines
sick.
just right. Oh, I just love Wipeout so much. And this is why I'm looking at the Gravlev. And the Gravlev biking, I believe it just needs a little bit more tuning.
Yeah, just a
Because,
little bit.
yeah, a little bit more tuning, a little bit more feedback as well, because I would love to be able to know, right, my back end is starting to go, because I prefer going first person rather than third person. I know you can go third person, but I kind of feel it's a wee, personally, I feel it's a wee bit cheating, but that's my personal opinion. I don't look down at anyone, but I'd rather...
Never think that it's cheating in terms of this, because people are using tons of different things. The difference
Oh my
between like
God.
you going first person and third person, some people do this on mouse and keyboard versus sticks and stuff. So that sort of thing, don't ever think that's cheating, because it's just not.
Oh, no.
Just
It's
do what's
really
I
not.
don't mean
fun.
Yeah.
I don't mean that in an aggressive way. It's more a case of it's that kind of like mentality of when you're low flying. When I low fly, I like to go first person with head tracking on, go as fast as I can. And it's just that case of it's kind of like semi immersion. I know it
Yeah, of
sounds sad,
course.
but it's
Sure,
just
yeah.
it kind of gets you in the mood of right. I need to lean in, look into this corner before I take it, etc. But yeah, I do believe a little bit more work, and I think they've got it. But I do have one gripe when it comes down to racing. I'm going to mention the red-headed stepchild that everyone forgot about, and that is the Ranger from Tumbrel.
Oh,
The bikes,
the bikes. Yeah.
the bikes.
None of
I
these
just want
tracks
to see them in.
are
These tracks
meant
are
for these.
applicable.
Can't
Nope.
ride a bike on
You can do it
water.
on Clio. You could do it on Clio.
Possibly.
Sorry, not Clio. That was not a joke. I was just dumb. I meant on Snake Pit. You could do it on Snake Pit.
Do it in Snake Pit, but I think that they've mentioned it a few times in Inside Star Citizen and the Sprint Report as well, where they say, "Yeah, we're working on it," but when you actually take a step back and think about it, I don't think there's no way they could take the Gravlite technology or the like the Tumbrel to like 4-wheel drive technology and go right, just do it in 2 wheels, because it's entirely
no.
different. Because
Yeah,
you have to
it'll be
worry,
different for sure.
yeah,
Yep.
you have to worry about position of the bike, how you lean at the corner, etc. It's a lot more complex, and they've even mentioned it themselves. They want to get it right before
And
they
whatever
get them in the game.
and whatever, like you guys saying, like you can do it on shifting sands or you can do it on Snake Pit. Is it as enjoyable of an experience as it would be in a Gravlev bike? I don't think so, right? The amount of rocks
No,
you
I'm
would
gonna
have to
fight. I'm
go
gonna fight you on
around.
that. I'm gonna fight you on that because I've done a lot of
I would-
PU ground racing, and a lot of the time those sort of tracks can be significantly more enjoyable. My favorite track is still Arcorp Area 141 in a cyclone, even without the boost. It is still one of the most fun tracks. I love it. So
Okay.
I don't necessarily think that
Yeah.
that's the case.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'll default to you. I'm just going from a guess that it would be like it would
Yeah.
still be really annoying with the rocks, but okay, fair enough.
That's always been whenever I play a GTA game. I know we're kind of slightly going soft topic, but they do have dirt bikes on them.
It's
and I've
not,
had
though.
it for a while.
It's racing.
It's racing. I love going exploring and searching for hidden collectibles, etc. And the one vehicle I always go for is a Sanchez, which is a dirt bike, because you can literally go up. You know, you do your hill climbs. You can, you do your stunt jumps, etc. I think it's brilliant.
Yep.
They very much would get that in Star Citizen because they've been tight-lipped and they've not really talked about the
You should
Rangers
be
in a
able to do
while. But
flips.
hopefully we'll get a little bit.
Give me a
Well, that's another
skateboard.
thing.
Let me do Tony Hawk in Star Citizen.
I mean, if
Can
you
we get
asked,
stunt tracks?
if you guys asked this like 7-8 years ago on a 10 for the chairman, the answer would have been yes. So
Yeah,
Yes.
it's coming. It's already
It would have
coming.
been a stretch goal.
It's going to be in
Someone
3.0.
mentioned it.
$67 million stretch goal, guys. Skateboards, hoverboards.
All we need to do is buy one more address each.
Exactly. We'll be good.
I will say the Ranger bikes. Someone correct me, but someone told me the other day that apparently they were in the CitizenCon being worked on in the next year vehicles thing. The Shadows.
Oh.
I think the Rangers were in there.
Yeah.
And I will also say definitely not the one that everyone's forgotten about. The one comment I've gotten the most the last week is, man, these Gravlevs are great, but it'd be so much cooler if I got to use my Ranger.
That's funny. Nobody said Ranger once in my chat, but I think
man.
it explains like my chat versus your chat. You've been very much a part of the racing community where I have not until now.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, this is the thing. I've not been on much chance to go on Star Citizen at all this week, but I've lived vicariously through both of yous by watching the streams, which is great because I'm sat there going, okay, there's a bit of a rivalry here. Oh, there's a table leaderboard. That's interesting.
Yeah,
and it builds up the community, and I think that's what we really need in Star Citizen more than anything.
I think we've broke the leaderboards a few times with like, oh, he did good, and our chats are refreshing it.
Yeah.
And the banter as well. Come on, you can't beat that.
Well, I'm toxic, so I find it fun. I find it fun to be toxic. So for people that don't know, I rated Croncy yesterday after like having a good time and going. I forgot what we said. Mike was too fast, so I came here. That's what I told him to say.
Not only that, but you like popped into my stream the other day, and I was telling Chad, I was like, "Oh, you know, I'm trying to get an interview for this new job, whatever." And you popped in and said, "You're gonna need a new job because you're not a racer anymore," or something of those lines.
Yep. And then another one was his title yesterday was not ending my stream until I beat Mike. So I said 48-hour stream, let's go. So yeah, I try to have fun with it.
It's been very good fun.
I know I could do that with Croncy because I know he won't take me too seriously.
I've been calling you Slowy Mike all week. Like.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Definitely inconsistent, Mike. Damn. I've been banging into the walls too much.
Ouch. So the second thing I want to talk about is the server meshing. It was going to be about the address because I did kind of like make a backhanded comment on Twitter by saying, "Oh, I want to get on, answer the call and talk about gold sinks and interests," but I think the server meshing is a lot bigger, and I'm hoping it's going to be a lot bigger news. And my hope, and I might be huffing a lot of copium here, is that we'll get to the day where you log in, you go, "I want to friend up with my friends," you hit launch, and then you just meet up with them in the game. Server meshing handles that. I don't know if that's pure uncut copium, but
it's one of their goals.
My idea of yes. The only thing you'd have to worry about is where do we meet? Area 18. Okay, everyone head to Area 18, and you just go.
Yeah,
and you play the game. But also relies on party markers and various other bits of tech that constantly fall about. But hopefully that gets fixed as well. But yeah, no, that's my dream when it comes to the server meshing. It was interesting to see this, and hopefully we'll get a little bit more insight when it comes to Pyro. I didn't know that about some of the additions to this one. You're saying some of the planets were added on this version of Pyro?
They added 4 and 5. Essentially, that planetoid system was added.
We only had 3 planets in the initial test. 1, 2, and 3.
And then 4 and 5 are together, as well as a bunch of moons. And then 6 wasn't in it, and that's obviously the furthest one away.
Yep. And you could jump to it. So it had a name. I forgot the name of it. So you could jump to it, but there was nothing there.
Yeah, you're just empty.
So the red line warning that you got, Croncy, was that when you were flying in atmosphere or going near an anomaly?
So I'm not in Evocati, so these are notes that I got from someone in my community that sort of let me know. So the specific wording was, the jump drive warns you about the size of your ship relative to the wormhole size and stability. It'll be green, yellow, or red, depending on that.
Yeah. Oh, and Pyro 6 is called Terminus, and it was a...
Terminus, that's right.
It was apparently like a black hole is what it was kind of acting like.
Yeah.
Interesting. And but from looks things you said, Rune Stations kind of they're holding that back.
Not there.
I imagine they're gonna hold it also wasn't there. I think it's supposed to be in orbit of Pyro 6. I'd have to look at the online galaxy map again, but my understanding is that it orbits Pyro 6, and I'm almost certain they're gonna hold it until the last second as kind of a fun surprise of hey guys, now you all get a chance to go here. I think it'll still be in PTU, but
I don't. I think it's one of those where it's probably like a fairly unique location that will take some time to actually Stanton grew over time, and Pyro probably will as well.
Do you think it's going to be that different to the orbital stations that we got to have a look at?
Yeah, I mean, if it looks the way it did in the concept art, yeah, absolutely.
They all look like that in the concept art, though.
No,
Like,
no,
all the concept art, they all look very similar to that.
no,
It's just with the exception of like extra arms and stuff. I think
the original concept art. I mean,
sure.
so it would be kind of different. So I don't know, maybe,
Okay.
but I don't think there's anything
also
wrong with
just-
them building up Pyro over time. Like to expect it to
Yeah,
have
yeah.
every location in there would be, I don't think maybe unrealistic. But yeah, I'll bring up Ruin Station. This was the
Oh, yeah.
original concept art, which isn't I mean, it's not that far off of the.
Very similar to what we've got now with like in Stanton.
They could do
It's
it,
very,
yeah.
very reminiscent. Yeah.
They could do it. It's just, it's not the style of station that they currently have in
Yeah.
Pyro. Right?
I would hope it's unique. I just don't necessarily have much belief that it will be super unique to the other stations we got, just because of like the other stations we got are awesome. They're super detailed. They're very cool, and they also appear to be very modular. So
yeah, they're all they're modular. They're very like kind of cookie cutter from the same, but like changed who owns it and things like that. And there's lore behind that, so it's like totally fine for them to all look the same. And I mean, this was the original concept. I don't know if it'll stick to this, but if they wanted to make it a little bit different, then it would take a little bit more effort. So the expectation would be it would take a little bit more time.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting.
Cool.
I think
Awesome.
that's everything. The only thing I'd
easy.
possibly want to talk about would possibly be the Idris, but it was interesting to see it on Inside Star Citizen. But as you said, it's no offense to them, it was more a kind of art and design episodes than anything else. Because if you think about it, there's going to be a lot of tech and a lot of like refueling and rearming. Surely that's going to have to come into play with an Idris. When it finally comes into the PU full time as well, and there's there's other bits of tech as well. But yeah, it was good to actually see it because I didn't get a chance to get anywhere close to one when it was in the PU. But
sadly, right?
It was nice to see it. Yeah. Hopefully next. Well, we've got Evictus coming up, so you never know. They might have it dry docked, and you can just walk on and just tour it like you can with the Hammerhead.
For sure.
It's certainly something we're all expecting, though I do think it's one of those, like, it's dangerous to expect that because, there's an equal chance that it won't. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, it just could be the Javelin again, for all we know.
It very well could be, yeah.
And the Javelin got worse over time. The initial Javelin that they showed, like, the NPCs talked, and then they didn't. Yeah.
That was more bug-related than anything, at least, though.
Yeah. But that was awesome. I mean, I think that they could do something really fun with the Idris, and I hope they do.
Yep.
Yeah, indeed.
But all right, Danger. Thank you so much for calling in.
No worries.
I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Being the last caller is always hard, so.
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't accuse me for being connected to the Glasgow Willy Wonka experience.
No.
No, that's good then.
It was you. You made the script. I knew it.
Yeah.
I was the unknown. No.
All right, bro. Catch you later.
Cheers, man.
Right, catch you later. Cheers. Thanks, guys.
All right. Another show in the books.
Yep.
Server meshing. Very exciting. Also kind of freaky, scary. And racing is awesome. Yep. Anything else you want to add?
No, that's pretty much it. Just hopefully next week we get to talk more about meshing. Hopefully we see some more testing, or maybe we get a PTU or something. Like something. Give me something. I still get to race this next week, but then I can't do it for 2 weeks because it's off. It won't be on experimental modes. Give me something to sink my teeth into, and I'll be super happy.
Yeah, I'm gonna race a lot this week. I don't know about on stream, but I'm gonna race a lot. And I might just do like practice for the most part and just get as many laps in as I can while I can, and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because I really just have enjoyed it so much, and it's been a lot of fun. And I don't know if I would have enjoyed it if we didn't have our little friendly competition. So thank you for spurring that up a little bit. It's been awesome, and yeah.
I blame Duncan. Duncan started it.
True. Yeah,
it was all an advertising ploy to get people to get into the mode.
For sure. But as always, we'll do the little outro stuff. If you're watching us on Twitch, this will be on twitch.tv/SaltEMike. So if you ever want to catch it live, twitch.tv/SaltEMike and on YouTube at Answer the Call SC on YouTube. I totally forgot that we're hello, YouTube, because I handle the Twitch side and Croncy's been kind of handling the
They've been
YouTube side.
behaving. It's fine.
Awesome.
I mean, well, they've been behaving as much as a Star Citizen can.
True. And yeah, so if you're watching this on YouTube and you ever want to join the show live and come in and call, discord.gg/SaltEMike. It's just simpler to do it that way and not make a whole new Discord since it's been it's all set up, ready to go for us. And yeah, hit the follow button on the Twitch stream, hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel, and we'll catch you guys pretty soon. But I actually don't have my phone today. Is it okay if I use my Manscaped? It looks like a phone.
I guess Mike forgot to answer the call.
Oh, no. But I didn't forget to beat you in racing, so it's all good. Yay!
Wait.